Hello, welcome to another beautiful episode of Healthy Living, reaching you from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Olamide Al-Hassan. You know, on Healthy Living, we get to discuss everything concerning our health and well-being. Now, heart attacks pose a global health challenge, demanding swift and effective first aid responses for improved outcomes. Recognizing symptoms, initiating emergency response, and administering timely care are paramount. Today's show provides a concise overview of first aid measures, emphasizing the importance of public awareness and accessibility to emergency services. We'll discuss first and safety measures of heart attack, focusing on community engagement, localized training strategies, and challenges in healthcare infrastructure with community health practitioner Happiness Moses. Before you get to meet her, let's quickly take a look at some of our health roundup stories for this week. You're welcome to the studio once again, community health practitioner Happiness Moses. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing very well.
And thank you for always honoring the call whenever we do call.
It's my pleasure. I feel happy doing this.
Thank you so much. You know, it's very rare to find people who are willing to always educate viewers about their health and safety measures to keep them safe. And so, because we're talking about first aid safety measures when it comes to heart attack today, can you please give us a brief overview of what heart attack is so that we have an understanding, more like a background understanding of what the topic is about?
Okay, so heart attack is just when the blood flow to the heart is severely reduced or blocked. So this is mostly as a result of built up substances like fatty cholesterols in the heart. It mostly occurs like when the artery that supplies blood to the heart is either blocked or it's not functioning well, either narrow or something is actually making it to be so. And most times it's because of over the time, you know, substances like fatty cholesterols have been built up, and this, once it is built up, it can form something we call plaques. And when these plaques ruptures, it can form what we call blood clots. Okay. Now, this blood clot blocks these arteries, and they cannot do their usual work of sending oxygen and blood to the heart.
Okay, because you talked about how it can actually block the arteries. Now I'm beginning to wonder, what are the signs and symptoms that people should be aware of to know that, oh, I may be on my way to a heart attack or something? So what are the signs and symptoms?
Well, these signs and symptoms, you know, they range from mild to severe, and sometimes there is no symptoms at all. But there are few common symptoms you can see, though I always tell people that some symptoms may not really be it, and that's why you need to get a medical professional to help you out, because most of these symptoms are intertwined. So you just need to get a medical personnel to help you differentiate which one is actually which. But here are a few common symptoms. You can get a chest pain that may feel like tightness, pressure, squeezing, or even ache. Also, you can have pain or discomfort that spreads from your shoulder, your arm, your neck, your jaw, your teeth, and sometimes
even teeth.
Yeah, and sometimes even your upper belly. You can have something like that. Fatigue is there, dizziness, shortness of breath, quite a lot of them, but these are some of the ones. In few people, they will get these symptoms like few days before the day of the heart attack. While there are people who it just happens suddenly. It's just so sudden. So sometimes you just need to regularly check up yourself and know what's wrong with you per time, and that's it.
So one would now be wondering at this point, what could be the cause for some of these things? What are the causes?
Well,
if there's any specific.
Yeah, there are causes.
Okay, please.
There are causes. So one of the causes is coronary artery diseases. Now, these coronary artery diseases are mostly, just I was explaining during the definition that it is when fatty cholesterols are being built up in the bloodstream. You get, so this fatty cholesterol, when they are being built up over the time, they will form something like a plaque, like something that blocks these arteries. So these arteries get blocked, and when they get blocked, like that plaques can rupture and form a clot in the artery. You know, when your blood clots, normally when you bleed, you notice that the blood clots. I don't know. Everybody experiences it. Sometimes you get a cut on your hand.
Okay, that's true.
Your blood bleeds. Your blood clots. I mean, clots. It's formed like a
Some
thick
sort of a
substance.
seal.
Yes, like a
Yes.
seal. So that's what happens. This rupture has caused a blood to clot. So you know, the artery is just like a pipe. So once it blocks it, so there won't be supply of oxygen. There won't be supply of other materials is taken to. So this thing will begin to cause heart attack because there is no longer enough supplies.
Okay.
So it's also, apart from that, risk factors. We have risk factors that causes these things, like people who use tobacco use, people who smoke. They are very likely to experience a heart attack because they are taking in substances. You know, remember I said fatty cholesterol and substances. So they are taking in different substances. Also, irregular use of drugs can also cause this, like taking drugs in a way that it is not prescribed. Some people abuse their drugs because some of these drugs have side effects. Normally, when you get a drugs, you read the manufacturer's what the manufacturer said you should do concerning that drug. You see some people taking overdose, or some people will take less than the dose. A lot of things that are causing this. Also, we have one that is just caused, it's also a coronary disease, but it's like a spasm. So sometimes just the squeezing of the blood vessels are squeezing. So it can also cause these things. Also, you know, age and stress also does this.
I was going to get there because I wanted to say that I realized that it's prevalent in most of our communities. But growing up, the kind of movies we used to see, we would watch and see a man on the phone, and maybe he will get a call and he'll say, hello, they'll just tell him, Oga, your container sank yesterday, or your shop is on fire, and he'll be like, hello, and then he gets a heart attack and then he dies, you know. So I felt like heart attack was a sudden thing growing up. And then there's this perception that there's a demographic of people that can have heart attack. So what are there specific people that can have a heart attack? Are there age range, or right now it's everywhere?
Well, anyone can have heart attack, but it's most common in men 45 years and above are likely to have a heart attack, while in women 55 years and above are most likely to have a heart attack than younger women, you know. But anyone can experience a heart attack, especially when they are living their life carelessly. You know, lifestyle is also contributing to heart attack. You know, like when I mentioned tobacco use, smoking, you know, too much of everything is bad.
It's bad, of course.
So most times, not just, even a youth can experience heart attack. Even a 20-year-old can experience heart attack, depending on the person's choices of lifestyle, you understand? So that's it.
All right, so because we're still trying to understand what heart attack really is, let's talk about some of the safety measures and maybe what does early detection of, you know, your heart rate, how does it impact the overall health and, you know, a way to avoid having a heart failure?
Okay, I think we should put it like this. Let's put it as like a preventive, something you could do actually to improve to make yourself not to be among the victims of heart attack. Let's put it like that.
Great.
You know, one of the things you should do is to live healthy. When I talk about living healthy, for example, if you smoke, you quit smoking. You know, normally, smokers are liable to die young. They always have it. They're exposed to heart issues, kidney issues, and also liver issues. So one of the things is eat healthy. Now, let your diet be revolved around vegetables, fruits, healthy cholesterols, healthy proteins. You know, earlier I said this cholesterol, fatty cholesterol, there are actually a bad type of cholesterol to use. So when you use them, you are just narrowing your arteries. So these are some of the things you can do is to eat healthy. Also, another thing is to exercise, because an obese person is at so much risk. You are at so much risk in having a heart attack when you are obese. So you need to live, you need to exercise every day. You know, exercise is part of one's life. It should be something we do as a routine. It helps a lot. Some time ago I was studying, they told me, I saw a development that there is a particular exercise which actually helps like 250 functions in your body.
Wow.
Yes, so, you know, exercise is so profitable in almost all health issues. So you have to, the heart requires a particular percentage of exercise daily.
Okay.
Yeah, so it helps your heart to beat well and all that. So you need to constantly engage yourself in exercises. Then also take your drugs as prescribed. Don't take drugs overly, like you were told to take one morning, one night, because I'm feeling so much pain, let me take 2 morning, 2 nights. Or because I feel like this thing is not working fast, let me take 4 at once. Meanwhile, you were asked to take 1 morning, 1 night, because the person who prescribed it know your condition and gave you the drugs in such a way that it will take it time to work. So that's it. Those are the few things you can do as a person. But then there are other causes that you can is actually beyond your control. But so far, if you're able to eat healthy, exercise well, reduce smoking, when you're taking alcohol, taking a moderate note, not an excessive note, you have reduced your risk to a greater percentage.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, because we're looking at not just heart attack or heart failure, we're also looking at the safety measures. Now, let's begin to look at some of the safety measures. So in situation of a heart attack or a heart failure, what is the first thing that one needs to do?
Well, the first thing is that, for example, you know, some people, it may be sudden and the person just falls. But I want to take it to a part whereby you are just beginning to feel these symptoms of heart attack.
Okay.
You're just beginning to feel the symptoms now. Now, the best thing to do is to call an emergency medical help immediately, even before doing anything. Just make sure you have called an emergency help. Of course, we have an emergency help in Nigeria, so it's very, very important.
I think that's 112.
Yes, that's the first thing to do. So when you have done that, if you are the person and there is nobody around you to help you, if you can get someone to take you to the hospital immediately, it will be very nice, because you are beginning to notice it. I'm talking from the point of where you are
helpless.
You are beginning to notice that you are still okay, but you are beginning to notice that something is changing in your body and you can still manage yourself. Because sometimes you may be in a situation whereby there's nobody there. And you really need to take steps in saving your life, because this is a life-threatening situation. So you really need to take steps towards helping yourself. If you can move, then you begin to move out to where people are. Get somebody. In fact, in worst cases, if you can drive yourself, you need to try. Though it may put you at risk and other people on the road when it gets worse. But you cannot sit and allow yourself to die. So that's just it. So, but now I'm talking from a perspective whereby people are there with you. So the person that is there, the first thing to do, like I said earlier, is to call the emergency line. And once you call the emergency line, try to get the person to a comfortable position whereby he's sitting, putting his head on the wall or leaning on something. You know, the knees is a bit up, or you can take the person to a comfortable place where the person can lie, so you can be able to carry out your CPR. That's what we call cardiac pulmonary resuscitation. So you'll be able to do that. Those are the major things you can do as an unlearned person. Okay, for someone who is not yet unconscious, you can give things like aspirin, because it helps to prevent blood clots. So you can give something like aspirin if it is handy, if it has been prescribed. then because sometimes the person may still be able to talk, trying to muscle out words, so you can be able to get, if okay, I can get this for you, and just let the person chew or take. But it should not be taken when someone is less than 16 years. Yes, there are some drugs that cannot be given to.
Can someone less than 16 really have a heart failure? Really?
Yeah, in rare cases, we have people who have heart attack.
Oh.
We earlier said poor eating habits.
Yes.
When we eat the bad type of cholesterol, you take in those type, there is every tendency that you're exposing yourself to heart attack or heart issues. You get. And also, you know that even high blood pressure, diabetes, other things can expose you to heart attack. Yeah. So these things,
you said it with, the last time.
Yeah. So these things really can happen to anybody. So when you take the person to a comfortable side, if that aspirin is applicable to the person, you can give the person so as to prevent blood clots. Actually, what people think is that someone who has a heart attack may not be able to survive. But if the right first aid is given, the person has every chances of survival, because the heart attack will be temporal, and when what is wrong with them, when the medications are prescribed, the person may be cured from having a heart attack, except there's an underlying issue. So when you take the person to a safe place while you are trying to wait for the medical help you have called, for example, this person is now unconscious. Now you have to carry out what I call CPR. A lot of people don't know CPR, but it's important for everyone to get the knowledge about CPR.
You know, something happened at the National Assembly. Maybe I shouldn't really go into the details, but something of that nature happened at the National Assembly, and people were running helter-skelter instead of giving CPR to the victim. And, you know, like that, except for maybe a few persons that had the knowledge and started trying to resuscitate the person in question. So I feel like 95% of our community,
we are not aware.
Most of our residents do not have a basic knowledge of CPR. And I'm looking forward to you also giving us an idea of that eventually as we proceed.
Well, I would think that it would be best for everyone that is watching to actually just go on a study, because it's something you need to study about, get an understanding. At least it can be offered even online. You don't really need to go to school for that. It's just a life-saving technique. So, for example, the person, you begin to carry out your simple CPR, you know, you begin to compress the chest, because the reason why you need to do that is so as not to, so that the blood cannot clot. You know, when the heart stops pumping, you can imagine what will happen. Absolutely. So, you know, so you have to try to keep the pressure going. So this CPR is just a way of using your two hands, or rather your like this on the chest, and you know, be applying that compress on the chest, even up to 100 times. You can do it, just to make sure before the medical help gets there, so that the person can have a better chances of survival. If nothing is done, the blood can clot. You can just put it as, you know, when you have a scratch and blood comes out. In the space of few minutes, it clots and turns to black.
True.
That's what will happen to the person if nothing is done, and that could lead to death. So, first thing that I'm just talking in a layman understanding, what you can actually do for that person. Sometimes we even give a mouth to mouth. We call it breath of life. So different measures of trying to resuscitate this person. This is basically what you can do as someone who does not know anything about heart attack.
Okay, you know, there are lots of misconceptions around these first aid measures when it comes to this heart attack and the rest. I know that when you just find somebody that collapses, they don't even want to know what precisely is wrong. You just somebody will go carry water.
Pour the person.
If they are not pouring water, maybe they are fanning the person, or people are gathered. You see this crowd, people don't even know what's happening, but everybody wants to come and see. And some people are recording, some people are doing this. What are the misconceptions that you have come to experience as a community health practitioner? I'm sure you have your ears on the ground, so you know what people think. What are some of the misconceptions, and how can we begin to address them?
Well, one thing I have noticed is our society has not helped us either. These days, when you see somebody fall on the ground, you won't go to touch the person. Reason be that, let them not say you are the one that killed this person. Somehow it's as if our security sector are also contributing to these issues, because a lot of people, something happened. A friend of mine, he was coming back from somewhere, so he saw this man that fell on the floor. Now later on, I heard that the man had low blood pressure, so maybe he slumped. As a result, his heart stopped pumping, something. But people were there. They never attended to him. Some said
recorded him.
He was drunk. Some said they don't want to be in the crime scene. Some said they cannot go there because they cannot stand someone who is doing that. Some even ran away eventually, until someone who knew him saw him and started calling for help. And before you know it, sadly, they lost him, because there was nobody, everybody was scared. So, like, I've had issues of people being found in the scene when these things happen. Maybe the family members will come and say, what happened to him? What happened to him? And put these people in trouble. So people are skeptical when it comes to trying to save a life. So these are the things these are the misconceptions that are in our society. Like, even as a health worker, sometimes when I see people have they have accidents, there's accident, road traffic accident and all that, sometimes I feel scared to dive in.
Wow.
Because you may dive in and they'll say, it's not the accident that caused the death. Now you are the one all those things. So people just have this, they don't want trouble. I don't want, do I have the money to go and do case? I don't have the time. Everybody should live his life. So a lot of people not caring for their neighbor happen in our society, and these things are not helping at all.
How do we begin to address all of these things? What's the best way to, make a difference? Well,
we have first aid agents who have ID cards for emergency, all those things. They are in the best position. But let me take it to, what if it's your family member?
Exactly, because I feel like the truth is, the reason why I'm asking this question is because I feel like everybody, we don't need to have first aid agents. We all need to be first aid agents.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I have seen where lives have been lost because of lack of knowledge of first aid. You see, people, the time span of taking somebody to the hospital, the person is dead. But the person was still breathing by the time you picked the person up. But you didn't know what to do to administer a first aid to keep the person steady till you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
So lots of lives have been lost. In fact, if we're going to be looking at the statistics, it's going to be really high.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all need to be first aid agents. But
we actually need to be, like the last case that happened of the lady that was stabbed in the hand and she bled to death. Exactly. I saw the video that a Broku doctor made on that, which is very, very correct. Now, if there was someone who thought that, okay, fine, this lady is losing blood, though, can we at least find a way, okay, even if you don't know, can we at least find a way to stop this blood and take this lady to a nearby hospital so that this blood can be arrested? Even if the hospital is going to refer the person, maybe it's a primary health care, they will do their best to avert her losing more blood than necessary. So these are the things.
Are you sure? Sorry to cut you in there. Are you sure some of these hospitals actually do that, or they just reject the patient altogether? Because I also read the story of a particular young man somewhere in Port Harcourt, River State, who got a call that his mom was in trouble, his mom said they were shooting around the apartment, yada, something of that nature. And then he was rushing to, help his mom. He was coming from the gym. So because he was speeding too much, he ran into a building and then he had an accident.
Oh.
They took him to 3 different hospitals where he was rejected. And he couldn't make it eventually to the next one. So you can imagine if at least you can't treat this patient, but you take him in and you first of all steady him, then you make another referral. Wouldn't it have been better? So that's what I'm saying. Are you sure that some of these hospitals, that's why I'm saying we all need to have the knowledge so that instead of going from one place to the other, you already first of all study the person. Then wherever you're going to, even if they reject the person, you can go elsewhere, because it looks and it may seem as though our healthcare professionals have been overburdened, so they don't even want to pay a second glance at anything that they are not going to handle.
Anyway, there are several reasons for referral. For example, when you are getting to a primary healthcare they don't really have some of this equipment to treat you. They cannot do anything than to refer you. Either they don't have the equipment, or they don't have the resources, or they don't have the knowledge. There are several reasons why health workers refer. You know that sometimes we refer because we don't have enough materials. Sometimes we refer because this is not our class of work. Sometimes, so different reasons. We have tertiary, secondary, and primary institutions of health. So, but then I think that they should be able to give out one advice or the other, but the best thing is to reject you so that you can go to a better place.
See, I agree. My point is, I need you to understand my point now. My point is, I am not against the fact that you have referred somebody elsewhere. But the bone of contention here is, what did you do to get the person steady first before you refer them elsewhere, instead of randomly rejecting? I've been a victim of that. So my elder brother, while I was growing up, fell from a tree and he was unconscious. He was rejected at 3 different hospitals. This was when I was 8. He was rejected at 3 different hospitals, and the final one took him in. And thank God, he survived through all of this. But they kept rejecting and rejecting and rejecting. They didn't even touch him. They just said they can't take him. 3 different hospitals before they finally accepted him in the 4th one, and then they started treatments.
I think
so. Imagine if he did not make it because of the rejections.
I think that's why both the governmental and the private section should look into the health sector, because a lot is happening there. Probably some of these hospitals do not have the equipment to help him.
All right,
that's it.
Let's just quickly go on a break before we come back and talk about how all of us can actually become first aid agents, because honestly, I am very curious to know that.
Yeah.
All right, viewers, let's go on a quick break. When we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. We're still discussing with community health practitioner Happiness Moses, giving us safety measures to handling heart failure or heart attack. Thank you so much for, the insights you've been giving us so far. So good. And I remember before we went on the break, we were talking about having all of us have the knowledge of, first aid treatment. But you also talked about calling emergency line. Has it been impactful? Do you know of people who have called? I know that in other climes people can call emergency lines, but in Nigeria, do you have an idea of how effective these emergency lines are? I want to first of all know about that before we proceed.
Well, the answer, they do. They actually do. That maybe movies have made us think that it's calling 911. I'm telling you, a lot of Nigerians don't even know the number to call.
Okay, so
yes, at least severally I've asked people what's the number to call. They will tell me 911. I'm like, 911 is not for Nigeria. So a lot of people in Nigeria don't even know which emergency number to call per time.
Maybe it's high time we let them know it's 112. Nigeria is 112, not 911. So you can just go ahead and keep calling 911. I think that, funny enough, how did I even get to know it was 112? Because it's not well,
Yes, it's not well publicized.
Exactly the point. But we'll blame the healthcare, professionals. So I had this medical setting on my phone that once my phone is locked, in case of emergency, there's an emergency contact to call. So I put my medical personnel, I put one person, I put my family member, and then put my blood group, blah blah blah, all those details of all the things that are needed in case of an emergency. So, and then there's also a function of if you can press this particular lock button for some 3-4 seconds, press it down for a few seconds, and then it calls the emergency number of your country. So I tried that, and then I saw the emergency number. I was like, oh, so we actually do have one. Yeah. But it's not publicized.
Yes, it's not.
I'm sure if we decide to go to the streets now, we'll probably be getting people saying it's 911, 911.
Yeah, because I've done that before.
But our movies have not publicized our emergency calling line.
I think I think we should throw it to the entertainment industry. They should at least use these things to act, comedies, movies, because these are the only places people get information as fast as possible. All right. But they actually work. They do work.
I believe you because you said so. Well, maybe I'm sure our viewers will start giving it a trial. I'm sure somebody wants to give it a try. If you want to give it a try, I think you should have 112 and see if there's a response, and please let us know if there is or if
so. If you call them, what will you tell them if you don't have an emergency?
I'm trying this out. I want to know if this works. But at least once you dial, somebody answers. You can as well just drop it because you just want to know. And tomorrow, when there's an emergency, somebody just speaks. Call. You're able to call someone, and then I hope they're even able to locate you wherever you are.
Yes, but when you call them, you make sure that you give them your exact location. If you call them, because like someone told me she called, they actually answered her. Now the person who picked was in Lagos. I said they need to actually work on that too. I don't know how good it is now, but as at then, the person she called was in Lagos. So she was giving them description. She didn't even attach Abuja. So now they were thinking it was that side. According to them, they went there where they were thinking in Lagos. And we're now asking her, Madam, where did you say you are? Then before she now said Abuja.
Oh.
So you see, so they had to start putting a call across to people in Abuja. So most times when you are calling them, give them your precise location, state, area, everything. Make sure you give them your precise location, so that even if someone from Lagos speak, it will directly take you to your nearby emergency number, what is so close to you, so that they can get to you.
So now that's beginning to sound like a community thing.
Yeah.
But what role now can communities play in order to be proactive? Because most times I know we are always reactive. We only wait for things to happen before we attend to it. So what roles can communities play in order to be proactive in some of these emergency cases, especially when it comes to education? Because most persons don't even know anything.
Yeah, one of the major roles that the community can play is to be supportive. Like we earlier mentioned, that somebody can fall on the floor now. People will come and pass. Sometimes I'm surprised. Do these people actually have a heart? You just come, pass. Okay, for example, you said you don't want to be caught in the scene of crime. Assuming everyone will just gather and then the right person will do this thing in the front of everybody. If at all any security agent come, he will not pick everybody there and go and lock in his cell. Do you understand? It's because when this thing happened, this person has his own perspective about it. This person has his own perspective about it. Imagine if an epileptic person that gets an attack on the road and just fell. People run away. When I was in secondary school, I had a classmate who was epileptic. While I was writing WAEC, his crisis came immediately. And he stretched, fell on the ground, To be sincere, I ran away because I was scared. I didn't know what it was. I ran away. Some of the students that were sitting around him also ran away. And normally when an epileptic person is reacting, you have to take them to a place whereby they will not have any injury, because it will eventually stop. Now, but we ran away. And that boy ended up
misconceptions.
Yes,
Around it. So I'm
and
sure we'll have
that boy ended up having some injuries, because where he was in an exam hall. He was sitting in a chair that with all this locker. Nobody wanted to help him. So these are the things. So the community will play a big role when they are supportive. We always say let's let love lead, but these days everybody would say on your own. No, you're on your own. So let's be concerned about our neighbors. For example, your neighbor that you live with in the compound is inside the room for a full day and you have not seen your neighbor. Don't be quiet. Go and check on your neighbor, because you have not seen him or her in a full day.
I'm laughing. Okay. Oh. Well, it's true. You're very right. But we now live in a generation where mind your business and I mind mine.
Yeah, and these are the things that is causing the issues. You cannot, my neighbors where I live, we mind our business truly. But if I stay for a full day, I didn't even have a sight of good morning, I would definitely knock. Sometimes I may not enter their houses. I'll just knock. Good morning, how are you people doing? Or good evening, how are you people doing? I'm just checking on you guys.
Okay.
Because sometimes someone may be inside. Okay, let me tell you a case scenario.
Okay.
This happened to someone really close to me. Now, he was depressed. His own case was depression. He was depressed. So he locked up himself in the house for 3 days. Took some substances. And then, what saved him? He called on phone. He called me. And when he called, I don't live in the same house with him. But then when he called me, and was like, I took something, so please, if I die, this was speaking very funny. I cut the call immediately. So I had contacts to one of his neighbor. I called his neighbor immediately. I said, Ron, go to your neighbor house and go and check on him. His door is not locked. Push the door and enter. And they were able to rush him to a hospital, and that was how his life was saved. So sometimes you definitely need to poke nose, because you are seeing something strange. The person is not outside.
So you have been informed that you can poke nose into your neighbor's business. You can, invade their privacy a little for their own
safety.
Okay.
Just like heart attack, you had a shout. You're in your house and you had a strange shout from your neighbor's house. Ideally, you should come out and ask of what is happening, so that if at all your neighbor needs maybe your neighbor does not even have a car and you have a car. So, and of course the wife or the family will not be able to drive in their right sense of mind. You have to be of help. So now, for example, God forbid your father just fell on the ground and somebody is shouting, the wife is holding, my husband, this uncle, daddy. If you are the neighbor, you cannot just say, I'm minding my business. You
Absolutely
have to you need to come out. What's going on? Okay, let's take him to the hospital. Because at that time, none of the family member would think of hospital, because they are passing through an emotional trauma, so they are not really thinking straight. So it's you now, let's take him to the hospital. Let's do this. They will not even remember the compress. I had a case of a woman who her baby started convulsing. And she said, they said they should put urine in the baby's mouth. The woman did not even understand herself. She was almost going naked. To get urine. She was not even coordinated. We had to help her. Luckily, the child survived. So most times we need each other to survive for safety purposes.
But was it a urine situation?
It wasn't.
Because I had to ask, because we're talking about safety measures. So somebody might be like,
no.
I had to ask because somebody might think
urine does not do anything. It does not do anything. You need to get a medical help immediately. Don't give people to the urine. No, I'm just talking about the misconception.
Yes, of course.
How someone can just be emotionally destabilized when an emergency is happening. So it can make the person do anything. Yeah. But your neighbor will be the one to help you. Your community members will be the one to help. So that's it.
All right. Now, let's look at the role of education, maybe community health practitioners like yourself, educating people in the neighborhood, because oftentimes lack of education is what causes some of these problems.
Yeah.
Lack of proper awareness.
Yeah.
If there's no proper awareness, everybody becomes doctors. You hear this one, just like what you said now. Somebody said, give the child urine, and that person might say, give the child kerosene, and that person will say, give the child palm oil, give the child this, give the child that. You know? I also heard the story of a student of Nasarawa State University that committed suicide. You know, by the time the neighbors got in, she had taken sniper. By the time the neighbors got in, they were trying to resuscitate the student with palm oil, but it didn't seem to work. Because over time, people have had the notion that palm oil is what will save you when you actually, when you have anything poisonous, any poisonous substance in your body. But that didn't actually work.
Yeah,
you know, there are awarenesses that we all need, the communities need, so that we don't end up confusing or misleading ourselves.
Yeah.
Because within the community, you can find 20 voices.
Yeah.
People say, take this, take that, take this, take that. Whereas these are all misinformation.
Yeah.
So how do we begin to walk around this community awareness?
Anyway, like personally, I do something I call community advocacy once in a while, like I'm going to do next week. So, you know, just to educate people on a particular health issue, what to do, where to go, how you can take care of yourself and get better. So once in a while, personally, I do this as my passion, you know. But then I think our health workers should include education when people come to hospital. Now, when people majorly see me, I tell them that prevention is better than cure. So there are a lot of things you can do to prevent sickness.
Of course.
So like when you come to me now with typhoid fever, I will just tell you, do you know you can actually live your whole life without suffering from typhoid fever? Do you know? If you can actually just take the preventive measures seriously, you can stay the next 25 years and no typhoid fever. So I keep telling people there are some things you can do. But just like you said, we need more education in our society. Maybe sometimes organize a community awareness on a particular disease per time. Maybe the disease, like, you know, during this summertime now, next year beginning, you'll be getting children with measles. Maybe what we should start doing.
Okay, there are seasons to some of these things.
Yeah, some diseases have seasons.
Okay.
So maybe what we should start doing is, before these seasons, people should be educated.
Okay.
Before the season of meningitis, people should be educated.
Okay.
Okay, this is what you see when it is meningitis. Get help immediately.
Okay.
So that people will have more awareness in our society. It may not reach the whole world, but we actually do this through social medias. Also, like some of the places in Abuja here, you notice they have their community rules, community guides, security. So we can actually pass through them. On the days of their meeting, you just go there and educate them about a particular health illness and how to give first aid when those health illness happens. So these are some of the things we can do in the society. Also, we can go through their kings, their leaders, you know, so that they can gather the people and we teach them what they need to know and educate them. But there are exceptions. Some people just say, the health people are just talking their own. That one is not true. That this is what our forefathers used to do. I actually had a case scenario. So I went to pick some drugs. So I had a woman, the woman came into the shop. She was complaining about rashes, skin rash. I was not like, okay, fine, you should take this and take this. And maybe you are exposing this baby to so and so. So another lady walked in and said, no, madam, this thing is not English drugs. These English people, they will tell you that you should take drugs. So it's agbo. There's one agbo. I wish I was in such a place that I'm going to get you this. I'm going to bath the baby with it and all that, and it will just go today. It's not a sickness that you should take. I was even confused on what to tell them.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Because I've experienced it myself, People will come and tell me, this is what you should do to your child. This is what you're supposed to be using. You take this agbo, take that agbo. And I'm like, excuse me. I will just say, okay, thank you, ma. Okay, thank you, ma.
Different
The ones that if they bring it, I will still say, thank you, ma. I will still take it. But for goodness sake, I have seen, I am a witness to some of the fact that these things are not what they say it is. They're just information that are being passed.
And there are also, some of them are just superstitious beliefs. They just believe that this is it. And some of them will tell me, it worked. The definition I give it is that, drugs work with your psychology. If the reason why a doctor gives you drugs and it works is because you believe that this doctor has studied and he knows what he's doing, and he will give you the right drugs, and when you take it, you'll be fine. That's why when you are sick, you say, I want to go and see a doctor, because you have faith in the doctor. So that's it. So just like that, you have faith that that thing will work, and you take it, and somehow your psychology is just that it has worked.
I totally agree with you. All right, so as we wrap up now, I want you to, give more voice to the things that individuals need to do, as preventive measures to avoid the risk of heart attack or heart failure.
Okay. Let me just give 5 things.
Okay, great.
First is, let your dieting be more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy oils, vegetable oils precisely, that you will see they will write 0 cholesterols. Also, exercise regularly. The heart needs some level of exercise on daily basis. Be active. Just get exercises for yourself. These 2 seems like the most important. And then take care of underlying conditions. Don't overlook symptoms whenever they come. Take care of them. If you have high blood pressure, make sure you take care of it. If you are diabetic, make sure you take care of it, because these things can bring you to the point that you may have heart attack. So make sure you take care of your underlying diseases or sicknesses, as the case may be. Fourthly, make sure that at all times you avoid the use of tobacco, especially if you know you smoke. You do well to quit. Like I said earlier, too much of everything is bad. So generally, anything you do, then manage your stress. Stress most times comes as a result of depression. So the ability to manage your stress is very, very important. Like my common saying is that life is too short for you not to take care of yourself. You just have a few years to live in the earth, and then while you're living, make the most of it and be happy.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful place to live it. And thank you for this invaluable insight you shared with us today. We really appreciate you.
I'm glad I'm here.
Thank you for your time. All right, viewers, like she said, life is too short. In fact, you only have that one life to live. So it's too short for you not to take very good care of yourself. That's how we draw the curtains on today's show. I am Olamide Al Hassan. I'll see you again next week.